I got an email tonight from a subscriber, almost401, and it was about dealing with loss. And this person had lost their grandpa recently. It's going to be starting college very soon. And asked me if I had ever experienced a loss of someone close. The answer is yes. When I was very young, when I was 18, I lost my best friend at the time in an accident out on Highway 10. And it was very traumatic for me, not only because it was the first major loss. You know, I'd lost distant relatives or people that I had known, but nobody really that close to me. He was 17, and he died from severe head trauma, and he died in my arms. They declared him officially brain dead the next morning, about 4 a.m. at the hospital, but his eyes closed while I was holding him and talking to him, and he never opened his eyes again. I know I was the last thing he saw. So that was really hard for me as an 18-year-old boy, knowing this young man had just died in my arms when he had so much going for him. That life ended just like that. It was really, really hard for me to deal with. And, it took a couple of years for me to get my head around it. It really took a serious toll on me. I didn't know how to react to it. I didn't know how to deal with my grief. I didn't know how to mourn it. I was a mess. Because that could easily have been me, But since then, I've lost several other people, and I've lost grandparents. And I lost my grandmother on my mom's side a couple years ago. And, well, hell, it's probably been 6 years ago now because it was before my wife left me. And, I remember going through that whole ordeal, the bad divorce, and that was pretty devastating in itself. That was a huge loss on a whole other level. But I remember thinking, I'm glad my grandma's not here to see me go through this, And I remember the last time I spoke with her on the phone, and I knew that night that was going to be the last time I ever spoke to her. Before our conversation was completely done, things were going bad in the hospital room on the other end. It was long distance, and she told me she loved me and asked me if I'd tell the kids about her, and I told her that I loved her. And she and I were really close, it was. I don't think losses get easier over time, but I think that once you've experienced loss and you've learned how to cope, and you've learned how to focus on other things other than just the loss, it ends up getting better, if that makes any sense. My first major loss that was very close to me, I was 18. Like I said, there's been several losses between then and now, but what I try to focus on, and what I want to encourage you to focus on, and I apologize for making an assumption that this is your first major loss, but I'm going to make that assumption based upon your age, that this is a first major one for you. But try to focus on the time you had with your grandfather. Try to focus on that, because whenever I lose someone now, you go through the whole grief process, and you have that guilt, and I should have said this, or I should have said that, and you feel that's part of the grieving process. You feel guilty, and you think about times that you let that person down, or you hurt their feelings, or, things weren't right at a certain periods. But when it's all said and done, they loved you, and that they knew that you loved them. There was a bond there that couldn't be broken. So, whether it be friends or whether it be relatives, when that person's taken out of your life through death, it's final. There's no last words you can really say to them. But what you can do is try to focus on the good times that you had and be thankful that God blessed your life, even if it was just for a short time, with somebody so beautiful. You know, I mean, this often happens that we lose people that have such beautiful souls, and you wonder, how could this person be taken from us this soon, or this early, or this young life, whatever the case may be, when there's so many other people that deserve to die? How is it that God took this person out of my life? When the way you should be looking at it is, you know, I'm thankful that even though this person was here for a short time, that I got to experience that person's soul. I got to experience their life with them. So that's kind of what I try to focus on now, and I really appreciate the people that are in my life, the people that I call friends, the people that I love like family, and even more. You know, I take my close friendships very, very seriously, and I hold my friendships in a higher regard than I do my love relationships. You know, I put a lot of stock into it, and I love big and I love hard. You know, my close friends, I love them. They're family to me. And, you know, I know they won't always be there. So, you know, I appreciate every moment that I have with those people. So my advice to you on how to get through it is just to focus on the love that you shared, the laugh, you know, and beyond that, beyond the laughter and the good times that you need to be focusing on, you also need to focus on continuing to live, because you can't put your life on hold while you're going through your grieving process. You still have to live, because if they were still here, you'd still be living, if that makes sense. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep doing what's right, and you got to keep progressing in your own life. So I hope that makes sense to you, and I hope that that helps you out. I am sorry for your loss. You know, take the time when you're alone, when you're down. I encourage you to grieve for your loss. Make time to cry, because if you try to hold that in and you don't take that time, it's going to come out at the most unopportune time. So, you know, make time for your tears. You know, that time when you're alone, you know, when nobody can bother you, and you can really let it out. But beyond that, in your day-to-day life, when you're facing the public and work and school or whatnot, you need to be focused on what you're doing. And when you think about those that you've lost, think about the good times. That's my bit on that. I'll talk to you later.